Little or no work experience? Unsure of what career to pursue? No problem. We've got you covered. This presentation is totally centered around giving you the tips and resources necessary for getting work experience in summer internships. Before we begin, make sure you have either an electronic or printed version of this document, where all of the resources referenced are listed. So, why internships and work experience anyway, especially if you have an idea of what you want to do? Let me ask you this. Would you commit to eating this mystery food for the rest of your life without trying it first? I hope the answer is no. Internships and work experience are like a taste of what working in that profession will be like. Remember, not everything is as it appears. Trying something out is the best way to know if it tastes, if it feels good. So finding a job or an internship. A step you might start with is reaching out or networking. What exactly does that mean? Well, I say it's about building relationships with people in the line of work that interests you, ultimately to make connections that will benefit you in the present or in the future. How, you may ask? Well, you can start with a Google search. Type in a search term, nursing internship, bakery part-time work. Look for organizations, companies, and firms that do the work you're interested in. You can also find out about openings for a particular company by emailing or calling the contact info provided on the website. It may seem kind of difficult, but you'll get the hang of it. When you want to learn more or speak with someone directly, you can identify an individual within the organization to contact, either by phone or email, and then ask for some of his or her time. Then, I recommend you conduct a brief informational interview. That means you introduce yourself and you find out more about that person's role in the company and if you might be a good fit. So what exactly does reaching out to a company or a person whose work interests you look like? You might start with that initial email or phone call, in which you might say something like the following. You introduce yourself, you state your purpose, that you're calling or even emailing to find out if there are any open positions or internships for the summer or whenever you're looking. If you're currently a college student, make sure you state that and also include what you're studying, as well as the topic that you're interested in. Mention why you think that you'd be a good fit for that organization. Don't forget to thank them at the end. Their time is valuable. If you just want to gather information from people in different professions, this informational interview is definitely the thing to do. Questions will vary, but examples that you might ask these folks might include asking how long they've been there, about their role, the day-to-day, experience, skills, talents, pros, cons, and recommendations that they might have for you. Let's talk specifically about how to even search for jobs and internships. Let's say that you're going to skip the informational interview process. The first thing we always recommend is work with others. Your school's career center is a great place to go. They have trained professionals who can help you on your search, and they can give you tons of feedback. Those informational interviews can be helpful. Professors, adults, and friends are also great people to ask. They know you well. They know what you bring to the table. They know what you'd be like in a professional setting, most likely. Search engines. On that Word document you have, there are direct access to links, like internships.com, right here on the right, or Idealist. And you can narrow down your search by stating exactly what you want. Do you want an internship? Do you want a job? Where do you want it? What do you want to be doing? You might get a whole lot of responses back, so the more narrow you make your search, the better off you are. Then you can go broader. A tip: remember to store your login information in a place where you won't lose it. That might include in a Word doc or in a notebook. Let's move on. Resume writing. You might already have a resume, especially for college applications, but you're going to want to tweak it a bit for applying to jobs and internships. A resume is meant to convey your skills, talents, and any related work and volunteer experience and coursework. Here are some basic tips and samples for writing a resume. Be concise but descriptive. Vary your language. Cater to the job and work with others. There's so many more tools, tips, and samples on that Word doc. Let's take a look at a sample resume. So here we have a resume from Sally Smith. Notice her name nice and big at the top, it really catches your eye. Then you see her contact information. You see what's called a career profile right here. Summary of her qualifications, her education and her training, internship experience, and affiliations. Now you might think, oh, I don't have internship experience, or I don't have affiliations with any big organizations. That's okay. How you mold your resume is up to you. Let's take a closer look at hers. Her resume format looks like this. The brief profile, we talked about that, something that will hopefully catch the employer's eye and he'll think, ooh, this girl or this guy sounds interesting. The summary of her qualifications provides relevant personal and professional experiences that relate to the position to which she's applying. Education and training section. This is the school information, the date of graduation, or the expected date if you're still in school, your GPA, coursework, any related projects, and any academic honors. If you have internship experience, it's key to put it in. Where, when, and concise descriptions of responsibilities and skills honed are what you'd put in this section. Affiliations. These are totally optional. Essentially, these are organizations of which you're a member. You could substitute this with extracurricular activities and or volunteer work. This resume, it's kind of like a skeleton. You can move it around, you can make it how you want, but it just needs to make sure that it's brief, it's to the point, and it conveys the information that the employer wants to hear. And that is Sally Smith. Other resume categories. We said, right, resumes are totally moldable. In addition to a profile, section about your education, and any internship or work experience, you may choose to also include relevant volunteer experiences. So if you're hoping to intern in a kindergarten, for instance, if you volunteered as a tutor in a preschool, if you babysat, you can totally put that in. Extracurricular activities. If you're interested in working for somebody on the Hill and you've been in student government, I would definitely include that activity. Your skills. This section is hugely important. Don't underrate yourself. Sell yourself. This is where you can include whether you speak any other languages, computer knowledge you have. This means if you know how to work something like Excel or Word or PowerPoint. If you are really good with social media like Facebook or Twitter, you can actually put that in. That's huge in the communications world, just as an example. If you want some more great sites with tips, tools, and samples, go onto that Word document for a complete list. And don't forget, there are always do's and don'ts about putting your resume on the right path. The more you read, the more feedback you get, the better off you'll be. So a lot of applications ask you for cover letters, right? And the cover letter process can be really daunting because, first of all, what is a cover letter? What does it do? And second of all, how do you express as much information as you want to in such a little space? Well, cover letters are meant to give you the chance to introduce yourself, state your goal, why you want to work in that organization, personalize your resume, and draw attention to information that addresses the needs and interests of the employer. Remember, the person who's going to hire you is always looking at your resume, asking himself the question, what can I get out of this employee? Here are some tips, and there's so many more that you can find. Be brief, avoid repetition. Typically, cover letters should not be longer than a page. Find keywords in the job or internship description. Make sure you put those in the body of your cover letter. Write a draft, get feedback. Proofread. This is key. Employers are looking at your cover letter as a reflection of your ability to communicate through writing. If you make mistakes, they will not take you seriously. Again, for more great tips and directions, check out the links in your Word doc. Let's look at a sample cover letter. We saw Sally Smith's resume, and now we're going to see Robin Scheffler's cover letter. So right up top, we see her name and contact info and the date, the person that she's directing her cover letter to, and this is really key. You don't just want to write to whom it may concern. That shows the organization that you have not done your due diligence and you've not done your homework in figuring out who you're actually applying this to. So here we have the Dear Ms. Mumford, right? It could be Dear Mr. as well. And you have short paragraphs, 1, 2, 3. Sincerely, a signature, and your name, first and last. Let's break this down. Feel free to pause it if you actually want to read it over. So what we saw right up top was her name, address, contact information, date. You can make this format different. If you need more space, you might write it more similarly to how Sally Smith had it on her resume. Then you're going to include the name of the person to whom you're writing the letter, their position within the organization, and their address. A salutation. That's when you write Dear Mr. or Dear Ms. plus the last name. Paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 typically follow this format. 1 is kind of like an introduction. 2 is talking specifically about your skills, coursework, and related experience you have. 3 is your closing. Making sure to say when you can start and how and when you'll follow up is crucial. If you add in, I will follow up by calling you on, and then you write a date 2 weeks from now, that's really awesome. That shows employers, hey, I'm not messing around. I really am motivated and I will be a good employee. Close your letter with a signature and your printed name. That's the last piece. Thank you very much, Robin, for your lovely cover letter. Moving on. I urge you to remember that cover letters and resumes are not meant to be worked on alone. It can be such a scary and overwhelming process. Your school's career center, your professors and other adult mentors, and even friends can provide you the feedback necessary to building a strong job or internship application. Even if they're really good at proofreading and editing, they can help you with little things. Okay, the last chunk of this presentation. If you've gone through this and you're like, okay, great, resume, I'm going to make sure I do that. Cover letter, great, I'm going to make sure I do that. Wait, shoot, what do I want to do? If you have no idea of what you want to do, no worries. It's totally okay, but it's time to start figuring that out. Consider what you value, what motivates you, and what you're passionate about. Write those things down. Talk with someone who has been there before, an adult mentor, a professor, a teacher, a career counselor. You can start that conversation by saying, when you were in college, did you know what you wanted to do, what you wanted to be? They may not have always, and they can tell you about their experiences navigating that process. There's tons of free and great personality and skills, quizzes, and tests online. You can use them to determine what kinds of jobs might be good fits for you. For example, if you say, I'm extroverted, I like being with people, I am social, chances are that a job that requires you to be by yourself in a back room all the time is not going to play to your skill set. And ultimately, you might not feel good about yourself. So go ahead, do yourself a favor. Find things that are really going to work to your advantage. Takeaways: work with others, ask questions, use your resources, proofread. Good luck!